been in that position the entire life.
So I'll keep position connecting. Okay, you're live.
It's in the straight up and down kind of video.
Okay, hey, there we are. Hey, kids, I'm on the. Isn't that exciting? Welcome. So, I'm going to just talk a little bit, and if anyone shows up, maybe we'll keep going. And this is a new exciting thing for me. And so, you hungry, buddy? I have dinner ready.
Yeah,
Okay.
I turned the music off because that could
Okay.
do a thing with
Okay. All right. We'll let you look at that. Oh. There we go.
Oh, do you have to film me?
Oh, no, we don't. I thought you liked me.
Not this time.
Okay, not a problem. Not a problem.
Hey, this is good food.
Yeah.
It's good, I guess.
Yummy.
Is the pig in it?
No,
Okay.
beef.
Oh,
And vegetables.
Thanks.
And here, let me give you a spoon.
I didn't get the Kroger plastic spoons.
You didn't need that. You got a bunch of these.
They don't have them pre-wrapped and sealed. It's like stuff could have gotten into the box.
Right. You want a little cheese?
Okay.
There you go.
Okay. That's what I say to Dan from the kids, not a man.
What, okay?
No.
Bon appetit. So we're having dinner here.
Do I get a piece of the bread? Or
Yeah. Do you want it toasted?
I don't know.
I was going to toast it. I was going to make,
Okay.
like kind of like garlic bread.
Okay. I needed to eat food or something after what I've just been through.
Right, exactly. And this is comfort food.
Like my mom told me my cousin's birthday or nephew, whatever whatever he is, he's 17, he's turning 17.
It's today's birthday?
Yeah, and she told me an hour and 40 minutes before his party.
Right.
And so I was like, okay, I gotta get off the phone and buy it. Because I thought I needed all the time I could to take a shower, get ready.
Get ready, yep.
And as soon as I got off the phone, I started looking for my car keys.
You couldn't find
And I
it.
could not find them. And it started hurting, the stress of it. You know, like, have you ever got stressed out and it hurts? Does it ever hurt your body?
No, because I don't really get stressed out.
It felt so awful. And I hadn't showered in 2 days.
Well, I haven't showered in a month and a half.
But these clothes, I sweated in them when
Well, I've lived in these clothes for the last 3 weeks. I was going to go in these clothes.
Yeah.
So you would shine.
But you feel comfortable.
Right.
As long as you're comfortable.
I'm always.
I felt uncomfortable.
No, that's too bad.
And then I was trying to get all ready and it made me feel awful. It made it feel like it was putting weight on me to get stressed out. And then it was just like, I don't even know. And so,
No problem.
I don't know.
We're not there. You don't have to be stressed out anymore. Not a problem.
So then I was like, after all that,
Mm-hmm.
and then you went up in the room upstairs. Where
But
I
I've
was
been
at.
there before.
Yeah.
And I've gone through I've washed every dish you had. I've cleaned every shelf you had. It's not like I haven't seen any of that before.
Yeah, but it would be like me going into your room in there.
Well, you do that all the time anyway.
Well, not after that. I felt like being alone because I mentioned you to my mom. Somehow it caused me more anxiety that you were around me, and I was like, oh, it felt
Okay.
awful.
Again, I understand. Not a problem. Not a
And
problem.
I couldn't even go because we couldn't find the keys.
Well, yeah, that's not a problem. And I kind of tried to see where your keys were. They are in one of your pockets.
They are?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So think about what pants or shirt or
Okay.
coat you were wearing and they're in your pocket.
Okay. And so,
And if they're not, like if you're going through your pants, they're not in your pants, you're not in any of the laundry that you thought you might have been wearing, look on the floor nearby.
okay,
So you should find it.
okay. Wow, it's good.
Yep, comfort food. You need some comfort. So if anyone comes on to chat, what they'll be on the bottom or something?
You might have to press one of the little buttons, the second from the left, and it shows up the chat or something like that.
Second from the left, the little flag. Yeah, that.
Or
Like that.
something. I don't
Yeah,
know
there
if
we
it's
go.
live.
Live chat. Yep, live chat. Welcome to live chat. Learn more. Don't want to learn more.
It works under there again. I'd like to go to LA later, but not now.
Good. We're going to LA. Well, we're not going to go today. And I would say, you know,
Or maybe I'll stay here. I don't even know. After
whatever
that.
you want to do, John.
I don't even know after that. It was like there are all these different things to consider, and it made it very difficult
To navigate.
to move forward with definitive action
I understand.
or definite action.
But, you know, it was a opportunity to move forward.
This tastes good.
I'm glad you like it. I made it for you special.
Makes me want to stay here now.
Good. We're here now.
There are all these things to consider. Guess you can't second guess it. I know enough already. Just go ahead with the things. Don't think about it too much.
Right, don't think about it too much.
Probably every option's okay.
Yep, every option is okay. This option of staying home and eating good food, made by yours truly, was the easiest and more comfortable
Yeah.
option. So that's good. That's good. No problem.
Yeah.
Oh, it's tasty. So my grandma taught me how to cook, right? Number one, keep an eye on it so it doesn't burn. That's number one. And then number two, you get comfortable what you're making, right? So pot of vegetables and sauce, man, I've been doing it since I was a kid. And I'll give you the secret on a really good tomato. This is a vegetable sauce, not so much a tomato, traditional sauce. Traditional sauce, you get a big fry. Reconnecting. Oh, you're live. You get a big onion, and you just cut it. You peel off, its skin, and then you cut it in half, and you put it in the tomato sauce that you get out of a jar, right? And what you first do is you have garlic, and usually my grandma used to have a jar that whenever she made bacon or sausage or anything like meatballs, she would put the meat on a frying pan, and it would, make extra grease. And she'd put it in this jar, and then it would, solidify. And so that was like lard, right? And so she would scoop a spoon of that, throw it in the frying pan, right? And then she'd put in a can of tomato paste. And then before the tomato paste, garlic. She'd take a big clove of garlic, take all the wrapping off, and then she just hit it with a knife, flat out, put it in the oil from the jar, and the garlic, right? And she let it go until it turned brown, and then she would take the garlic out and put it into another little jar. And then she'd put the tomato paste in, right? Mix that up, add a little water, do that. And then she'd take a can of tomato sauce. Once that was doing really nice, she'd have the onion cut in half and put those two halves in. Now, first she'd put in the can of tomato sauce, just anybody's tomato sauce, put it in there, and put the two onion halves in there, and just let it, come and bubble, 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 turn it off, cover it, put it off to the side. And that would be it. And that's kind of what I did with this sauce. But I did vegetables instead of tomatoes. And I chopped everything up.
I thought about writing it. Oh, that's good.
Yeah, yummy. And the sauce I did add was a jar of Alfredo to give it a little cheesy taste. That's good.
Yeah.
Want some more?
It's
Let me give
good.
you some more.
No thanks.
A little bit more.
Maybe a piece of the bread.
Yeah.
Full.
Right.
I had some of that soy milk thing, whatever it's called, that
Mhm.
they allow. I don't know what that's supposed to do.
Not a problem.
I'm gonna keep my mouth shut about my extreme political beliefs or something like that for the way I like to eat.
Don't worry about
My extreme ways of my more organic than, well, can't say organic, that means organs being hurt.
it. We talk. You can say organic.
Okay, this is actually good.
It's actually good.
When you cook the food here,
It's actually good.
I want it to be pretty much, I guess.
What'd you say?
When you cook the food here,
Mm-hmm.
it's as good as I want it to be.
Yep. And
Pretty much.
it's not like processed food. Not processed food.
Wow.
Bon appetit.
I am so tired, feeling. I had 1 can of caffeine, that was it. 42 milligrams or whatever.
Yep. That's tasty.
Excuse me.
Anyway, so here we are. And now I know how to. So John, when I want to end this, do I just hit the X up there? Or is it
Then
one?
when you want to end the entire chat, I guess you hit the
Well,
X.
Hit the X or the buttons over on the
The
side?
top right X.
This boy up here?
Yes, yeah.
Okay. There's one person there. Hey, there's 2 likes. Oh, there's a hey, I'm back soon. Yep. Well, I'm just trying out using the phone, which is kind of fun. I didn't know.
Yeah, they started letting you film
On the phone.
videos on it.
Yes, right now I can do it wherever I'm at, and I can pick up Wi-Fi. So,
They started letting me film it. I wasn't sure if they let you. They were letting you. I was pretty sure.
yeah, pretty
I
sure.
don't know. Yeah, that was great.
Why won't? Oh, there it is. Come on.
I guess it's down to the last 3 words I can use without the rest of
I
the
wasn't
anxiety.
serious. Oh, Matt. So there's a guy, Matt Loss, right? He wanted to sell you. He wants to buy your house for $500,000. Did he get a hold of you? Did he get a hold of you?
He hasn't written me a message. You can write me an email.
Did you write, Matt? Did you write John email? right? What's your email, John?
Bernie at BIRMEEE@gmail.com. It's on my YouTube page in the about and under my videos it should say it.
So, go give him an email. I'm just serious. He'd love that. Yeah.
You can look at the house. You can get someone to appraise it, see what it's really worth.
He wants to pay him, John. He just wants to pay $500K.
Hey,
Just let him pay you $500K.
That sounds good. He should look at it. Of course he'd want to look at it first if he was a serious buyer.
Well, man, on your YouTube, you have so many. I mean, you've done a number of tours of the house on your YouTube. Are those up? John?
Want to live in Roanoke? What?
Or any of the YouTubes where you did a real tour? Are they still on your
Yeah,
channel?
they're on there.
Okay. There you go, Matt. East areas, email them. Bingo, bango.
Come here and stay in one of the rooms here and look at the place if you really want to.
Right. There you go. Come on, Matt.
See how you like the neighborhood if you like to live in this neighborhood.
It's really beautiful. Like I said, just go on John's channel and stream, go through his shows. He's got a number of, really beautiful.
Maybe qualify for a loan.
No, I think Matt is independently wealthy. He sounds like he's ready to just cut you a check.
Well, I'd ask him to stay in a room somewhere here, the guest house, the Rowan's room, somewhere, so he, to look at the place and see.
It seems that he's serious. Right now, we've been talking. We've been what?
If you want to, unless he doesn't want to.
How you guys doing? For a reality show. He wants to fund a reality TV show. You and me.
Really?
Yeah. Now we're up for it, buddy. We're up for it.
Okay.
So come on, get real. What? No. Everything. This place is fixed. It is beautiful. It is a piece of art. It's amazing, right? So, this thing will go into the Smithsonian Institute. No. Yes, come on, 500K is nothing for this place. This is like a Garden of Eden, the way it's shamanically energized. It is a special, there's no other place like it. No, there's no other place like it.
You can do more work to it.
Or leave, you can just come here, everything is great. It all works.
If you put $100,000 into it and some more work, in 5 years, 4 or 5 years, it may be worth $1 million or $800,000.
John, buddy, just come on. Be serious. Get a hold of John. Come on by. Come visit. Take a good look. Sit down. And we're into doing a lot, a TV, reality show. I'm not doing anything. We make talk to my lawyers. We make a good deal. Bingo bango. Ooh. What's that? Turn that up, yeah. You want another piece of bread, John?
No, it's okay.
What does it say here? Oh, it sounds like you're trolling the situation. We're serious. Are you? Or are you just a clown?
Who's a clown? thought you were gonna say a troll, but you have to put it in clown. Who's a troll? Not the guy who did $500,000. I don't know. Why would you call the clown?
Because he wanted to know if we were waxed and vaxxed.
What?
Yeah.
What does that mean?
Well, waxed is like, when they take, all the hair off your body, and vaxxed is vaccinated. We're ready to go. We got our shots. We got our jabs.
Don't be mean to him.
No, whether the guy's a clown or whether he's real, that's what I want to know.
Well,
And you should.
wrote to me from the start.
Right.
But I
John
didn't-
says
I
he-
didn't say that.
John, yeah, it's all, this is just me, Al Bob, because you're talking to me on my channel, and I don't represent John. So if you're really serious about this place, you got to go on his thing, find his email, and start talking to him. Me, I'm just, Al Bob, just having a good time.
I never in my life have I found opportunity, things like that showed up that were like that good of a deal and stuff that were like, that amazing. He wants to make a real show for us and fund it and
Okay.
give me $500,000 from the house.
But, if you're a serious
That's a
person,
little on the high side for my house.
and whatever I say, I'm just playing with you and having a good time. So if we're doing a show together, you're going to know that, hey, we're going to have a good time. And I am seriously, I feel everyone's feeling. So I never say anything that
We're
is violent or attacking. Right?
I
don't attack anybody.
In my life.
So, and you should know this if you've been watching the show. So anyway, I don't always get my emails because I don't look at them every day. So why don't you email John right now? He's got his phone, and you can start the conversation.
Maybe he's real.
Yeah.
I have no idea. If so, that's the first amazing thing.
Can you hand me one of those things? Can you hand me a seltzer?
Oh,
Thanks, bud. Thank you.
okay.
So come on, email John. Go on his YouTube, see all his info on his channel.
I used to think I wouldn't even sell it for $1 million. I like this place
More than money.
Yeah.
More than money. It's one of those places. It is a emotional. I bought and sold a lot of real estate, and the secret to real estate is not get emotionally involved. But I got emotionally involved in this place.
What? You didn't call me a clown.
Mm.
Maybe you weren't. You never called me a clown in particular, but you called me other things.
I call you my friend. That's what I
I'm
call
gonna
you.
go upstairs.
Okay.
I'm gonna go upstairs.
So Matt, email him. And email me too. Okay, guys, here we are. Nice club. Keep going. Oh, yes. He says it all the time. If 500,000 is what you think it's worth, it's like when I bought this place. Inga and George Solanovich built this place, right? And they built all the little cabins in their 100 and something acres. And I knew them from New York. I worked in a Joe Battle Foundries. We cast bronzes and we did all kinds of exotic metals. We spray metalized and we did things like that, right? For the industrial world and for the art world. And Inga showed up one day and Hmm, I think I'm not quite sure. It was the 60s or 70s or 80s. I can't remember. Let's see. Joe, there in the 80s. Anyway, I was working at this foundry. Inga showed up, and she had these. She had this nice box, and she had these reverse wax casts, and she wanted it, us to do the bronze work. So we did. So that's why I met her and George. And they stuck around for a week, and so had fun with them. Got to know them, as much as you can. As they had other stuff they were doing, but got to know them. Then years later, I moved to Roanoke. There's this guy Jeff, who's a musician, and this hill is, like I keep saying, it's very psychically charged, right? Well, Cherokee's one of the most sacred places. And I used to do readings in this bar where this guy played. And we got to be friends. And I would come up to visit him. And I would always, bring food and wine and cheese and bread and make something for him. He liked that. And he always had a little boo. And I liked that. And we would talk and tell stories, and he played music, and I liked that. After a few months of doing that, and I was living downtown, and he said, "Oh man, you have to meet Inga." I said, "Oh." So we went into her house. Inga's sitting in her chair. And I walked to the front door. And I looked at her, and there's the lady who I helped cast her bronze like 20 years ago. She goes, "Oh, there you are." And I said, "Oh, there you are." And we sat down. And Jeff was totally blown away because it was like we were the best of old friends because I knew her. And Jeff was just, he was like, Jeff, and he's changed totally different now, but he was, that Walt Disney cartoon where the ants and the grasshopper's got the scarf around his neck, and he's always playing his violin and having a good time, and the ants are always working hard building their house. Winter comes, grasshopper's freezing, ants have a nice warm house, and they let him in, and that's the story, right? So that's Jeff. He was the grasshopper. And this hill, energetically, it's truly amazing. So I've been here 20 years, give or take. And I bought this place in 04, 05. And I was, doing a lot of different things, making some pretty good money, had money in the bank. I bought some places on the northern side of Virginia real cheap, and then sold them high, and then bought some other stuff, and then bought some stuff in Lynchburg. And so I was buying, selling, and I was doing really good. I had a lot of deals where I was buying low, ridiculously low, and selling ridiculously high, right? And that's how it went, I was lucky to get it really cheap. So I sold this one piece of property ridiculously high, and tax-wise, I was going to have to buy another piece of property at around $125,000. If I could buy another piece of property for $125,000, then I'm going to have to pay any tax for the next couple of years, and that was good. So, so I'm hanging with Inga, and she's an old lady by this time, probably in her 80s, and she had a car, but it was really rickety. And sometimes I'd go in her car, or I'd take her in my car, and we go shopping. We go out to lunch. We go see art in different galleries and talk to different peoples. And she had friends up in the hills, other old ladies that we would go. I would take her there, and we'd have coffee and tea and eat crumpets and stuff like that. And she had one of her friends was one of the Pogues. This old lady was sitting in her kitchen, and she has a porch around the backside of her house, from the front all the way around. And so her kitchen, has a big sliding door that goes out onto the deck, but there is the old kitchen door goes out to the deck, and there's some stairs there, right? So anyway, she goes, we're talking, and there's deers that are kind of up there, and they're kind of grazing on the grass on her lawn up. And she goes over, and there's a closet, and she gets out a 30-06, right? She goes out on the deck, she puts it on the railing, she looks at it, you know, like, and the deer went, boom, blows the brains out of the deer. You know, gets it not in the heart, not in the body, so it would run away. Bam, right between the eyes, and the deer just boom, right? And it was so loud. Just like, anyway, so that was that. I did that for about 6 months, and then, you know, the guy said to me, I want you to. There's an A-frame. Have you gone up to the school? And I said, yeah. Well, I go up to Jefferson. The school is right there. And she goes, have you seen the A-frame? Oh yeah, I've seen the A-frame. And she goes, I want you to go up there and clean it out and live there for free. I mean, it's a total mess. Probably take you a few weeks to clean it out and get it livable. And I said, okay, I'll go take a look. And so she said, do that. And I said, I'll do that. So I did that. And instead of taking weeks, I did it in a weekend, because it was a mess, but it's a small A-frame. And the electrics, they didn't work, but I'm an electrician. It took me 20 minutes to say, oh, it's this, and the wire isn't connected. So I did that. Anyway, so let's see what you're saying here. Bastards, I need you to tell me a story. I'm telling you a story, right? Do you know if the chimney is original? Yes, everything is original. It's in great shape. John probably put 50 grand into it. All the little things and this building is made out of stone and concrete. It's not going nowhere. And it had a few leaks in the roof. He took care of those, and he took care of everything. He made it. It's like amazing, right? So it's 98. The things. Here, look. I'll tell you. Look at this kitchen, right? It's George made it. So it's an art piece. You have to realize it's an art piece. So George got everything off the street. So like these windows. These windows. These came from a store in Salem. The sliding windows came from another building on the other side of Roanoke, and the windows downstairs came from a bank, right? And all the beams came from this hotel. It's like these beams, they don't even make them anymore like this. They are like 20 inches by 6. It's like unbelievable. This place ain't going nowhere. And it's on top of a gigantic rock. And it's all stone and concrete, just built up to the roof, right? Everything's stone and concrete. I'll give you a little look. And this is, look at what John did. This is what so it's a concrete floor. And, and look at all this brickwork, And here's the fireplace here. Where's the lights? Oops, there we go. There's a fireplace right there. And there's 2 bedrooms over here. So this was supposed to be an art school, right? So there's 4 bedrooms, right? And here is anyway, maybe I might, but you go to, I'm doing this place, look at the 4 that John painted, right? And see these doors, right? These doors here. There's a track up here that they slide that way. Yes, you'd have to take them all apart and grease them up and do all of that. And then there's this room right here. So all the leaks, it doesn't leak anymore. There's the front door. Here's the steps that go upstairs. And that's just this floor. I'm not going to walk anymore because I'm not good with stairs. So, back to Inga. So, we were having fun. And she goes, I want you to go to the A-frame. And now her ulterior motive was there was a woman that was living in this place, and she was a good person, but she was a party girl, and so the thing about the hill here, it will help manifest anything you want, right? So everyone here was like, in their, mid 20s to 30s, and they all went to college, and mommy and daddy kind of took care of them, and they weren't in any pressure to do anything. But so all they did was, drink and smoke and not really party and not do. Jeff had the most outrageous parties. I mean, like they were like events, So, but people would get carried away. He had three parties that I was, akin to, and people just drank and drank and drank until they poisoned themselves, and that's what people did here. They had, lost all self control. Now I'm a relatively disciplined person. I focus on things. I get things done, and I didn't stay here, because I didn't want to be here in the winter. And so I had other places that, I had a really nice place in the Appalachians, and I had this place, and I had another place in Lynchburg, and I had a place in Florida, near Boca Raton. I had another place down in the Keys. So I had a lot of places to go to, and a lot of friends who wanted me to hang with them, right? So I would come here, and I would enjoy this place. Like in the spring, I would come here for 2 or 3 weeks. My little A-frame, and but so being in there, I cleaned it all up. It was really nice, right? I had a life. I wasn't drinking or drugging or partying my life off. Everybody else was. So the woman who lived here, she had a boyfriend, had a baby. They broke up. She had the baby. The kid's crying. So she'd like all these all the garbage. She just threw it everywhere. I pick it up and take it down to the garbage pail. And she screamed at me for touching her garbage. I mean, I cleaned up all the crap, put it in a bag, took it down to the garbage, and I kept doing it because I didn't want to smell or step on those things. And then I used to bring her flowers. Stop bringing me flowers! She just lost her mind. And after about 4 months of me being here, like spring, summer, early fall, she left. Then Inga goes, "Oh, you need to buy the school. I need money." And I said, "Sure." And I had just sold and bought, and I needed to spend, 125 grand, so I wouldn't have to spend a big tax bill. And so I said, "Sure, no problem, Inga." So I'm a smart guy. I've done a lot of real estate stuff. And so I go down to the city clerk and see what the tax guy thinks this building is worth, right? And it said $45,000, right? And so Inga goes, my son-in-law, he's going to do all the business. You deal with him. I said, no problem. So I knew him. And he's a really nice guy. And the nicest thing about him is he loved Inga. I mean, above anything else, above he married Inga's daughter, but he loved Inga more. But he loved his wife. They were sweet on each other. Anyway, so, but his whole life was Inga. And his family. He had kids. So anyway, but he loved to be the tough business. I know what I'm doing. I'm Mr. Businessman. Okay, good for that. And he'd always look at me, like look at the cover of the book. He never looked at me. And what I did. Right? Well, he basically said, "Oh, you can't afford to buy this place." I said, "Well, maybe. What do you want?" And he said, "Not a nickel less than 125,000. Well, that's exactly what I needed to spend. But I knew it was only 45. Right? I mean, no one's going to even spend 12 on this place. And but it's worth $1 million or more because it is. There's no other place like this, and it could be used. It's got 10 acres. I had a friend of mine who came from Switzerland who was really, I knew him from prep school, and his family had these super duper fancy Swiss hotels everywhere, like in, all over Europe and everywhere. And he said this would be the most elegant, amazing niche hotel because it has a hill above it that would make a great ski lift. It's about 10 acres, goes into land trust. So you could get one of those ski lifts that's just a rope that pulls you up. When I lived in New Hampshire, there were a lot of guys who had nice hills, and they'd like put their tractor there and have the rope pull you up. Anyway, that guy from Switzerland he was into cross country. He would go up there and ski down. He said it was the best skiing hill he ever saw. Right? It's a great hotel. So, he was thinking about buying it from me, and I'm saying, maybe. But he then went around and met all the people, and they were like, well, all those people are dead and gone. So that issue is not. And you could buy this whole place. There's 40 acres over here that the son owns, and there's a couple of places below that the guy, if you approached him without any big idea, I want to do this gigantic, you could buy that for probably 50 grand, and then if you bought all those little chunks for another 100, you could probably have half the property here for like that, right? And then you could do some really amazing things. I'll be honest, the basement will be turned into a BDSM. Yeah, what is BDSM? Bondage, dominatrix, S&M dungeon for the show. Okay. Well, I don't think I'm up for any of that. If you want me to partake, that's from another show, and it would make a great. It would make a great that. I mean, you buy it, you could do whatever the fuck you want with this place, But I have to tell you straight up, there is this spiritual energy that you have to deal with. So that's why when I sold it to John, I knew that he was the guy because this would be perfect for him for what he emotionally needed. And that's why I keep kind of connected with him because I just, this hill and I have a serious, meaning when people go, is this your place? I would say, no, I just pay the taxes. This is, but anyway, I paid $125 for this. So Inga, and I knew the guy would give the 112 every nickel to Inga. So that's what. So she lived another 8 years, I guess. Yeah, about that. And she had to worry about money again because I bought this school, and I tried to have my mystery school. And again, it was a great space for that. But all the people who showed up just wanted to, they were dilettantes, and. So, out of the, I don't know, I did 3 seasons of a school, and how I did it was, come on, and we're going to go through this, be here 2 or 3 weeks, and you will be on the path. You won't be anything but on the path. And they wanted like a diploma to say that they were shaman or something like that. I said, no, I kind of don't do that. So people would show up, and how I did it, I would say, okay. After the first week, they said, what do we need to pay? I said, well, stay here a week, see what it's like, see what you appreciated, and then give me, that's 1 week, give me what you think it's worth, right? And if that works out, well, you'll stay another 2 weeks and, you'll be on the path, right? Well, of the 3 times I did that, of about the 60 people that were part of those 3 seasons, only 4 got on the path because the rest were like so, and the energy was so intense here that like this woman, I had a thing on, a friend of mine made a webpage for me. And there were whole things like no animals. You couldn't bring your animal, right? Because that would distract. They'd have to clean it up. The animal had to interact with other people unless they were perfect. And I had two dogs. If you brought a dog that wanted to eat them, so you couldn't. You just had to bring you. You're here. You want to be in a mystery school. You don't bring your animal, and you don't bring your crap either. So you had to come with virtually nothing except your conscious, open conscious mind and your loving heart. That's kind of how I put it, right? So at 60 people, only four came that way, right? And basically, I had it set up where usually, if like this woman, it said, and then she called me, I need to take my, I say, well, then don't come. What do you mean don't come? You tell me, I said, oh, just, if you're going to come, don't bring your animals. Well, she came anyway, right? And she had these, oh, they were bulldogs and like greyhound. They wanted to run, right? And she lived like in an apartment in Salem, not Salem, someplace in North Carolina. So she, drove 200 miles here. She gets out of the car, and the two dogs get out, take a dump right in front of my front door, right? And I kind of look at that, and I look at the woman. I said, clean that up. She said, I'm not going to clean that up. I said, really? And then, just when we're having this little, thing, he kind of unhooks them, right? That so they can be free. And these dogs just take off and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going and keep going, right? Fluffy, Fluffy, come back. And then she steps in it and then slips on it, boom, right in her butt. So her pants get full of her own dog shit and clean it up. It's amazing. She did clean it up, right? And the dogs are gone. I said, oh, you have to go after my dogs. I said, I have to do what? I said, no, not what. Well, how do I get up that hill? And I said, well, you can go run after them, but the way those dogs are running, I pretty much think they wanted to get the fuck away from you, right? And I don't think they're ever coming back. Oh no, they love me. Oh, they're my animal dog. Okay, they really acted like your animal. First thing they do is take a shit. When I say clean it up, you are annoyed that you have to clean up your own dog shit. And then they take off, you get upset, and go after them, and you boom, right into it, and all that shit goes in your asshole. Seems pretty straight up that, you have issues here. And so what does she do? She goes, well, I see a road. It kind of goes up that way. I said, yeah, well, if you go up that road, you may never come down because the road actually goes to Charlotte, North Carolina. That was the original, covered wagon road, right? So way back in like in the, 1580s, that was the way to go west, right through my front door, right? Anyway, so she goes up that road. And, I don't hear anything else from her ever again, right? So, I don't know, a few months later, I'm at my, mechanic, and he's like, he is like the mechanic around here, not in town, where the fancy guys are. But he has tow trucks. He's got trucks that can pull, semis out of a ditch. I mean, he's got it all. He's got 3 bays. I mean, he can do anything, right? So he gets the call from the 911 guys that this lady's up that road, the old Pogue Valley Road. And so he goes up there, and basically, she's up there, and she's gotten stuck, and is stuck in the worst of ways, and so he drives up a place where he can see the car, but he's not going any further. But his cable's long enough; he could like pull it on, put it onto a car, and just drag it, out of there, and then hook it up to his thing and tow it away. And so, she goes, "You have to go after my dogs." And he said, "What?" He said, "Yes." And she was such a jerk and asshole. He left her. Matt, I don't think I can do that. And you're going to have to pay him 500 G's. There's no talking him down. Even if he said, "Oh, I'll sell it to you $3." No, you're going to have to pay $500,000. And if you want me in a cage, that's about $1 million a show. If you're going to pay $1 million a show, sure, I'll pay. But I only do 3 shows. So, and I'm telling you about the energy of this place, Matt. So, by you saying what you're saying on the live chat here, it's going to be interesting to see, because this, the energy kind of, it's like you are also talking about the energy of this place. And I've just explained to you how it affected people. And so this is going to affect you. So it'll be interesting, But yes, you can't, nothing less than 500 G's, 500K, right? And if you want me in a show, only 3 shows, $1 million a show, right? And there are certain things I can, I'll be in a cage, something like this, cage got to kind of be big enough, and I'm not gonna wear any costume, any bondage or anything. I'll just be looking like me, I'll be wearing my super duper magic shaman hat. So you got the message, Matt? 300K, not a problem. John will sell you this place. 500K, excuse me, 500K. There are a lot of great things you could do with this place. It would be great for you. If you came here with great energy, it would be truly great. But if you come with a dark, and I'm not a chosen guy, what you're saying here. That's why I said, are you a clown? Are you a member of the NICP? I think you are. And that's fine. I'm not judgmental. You can do whatever you want. But you're coming across very NICP. That's okay. That's your life. But it would be good for John to sell this place. $500,000. It's well worth it. It's well worth $1 million, right? It really is an amazing place, right? And if you knew anything about Gaia's power, it would be very beneficial, because Gaia's power is all about chi. How's your chi, Matt? How's it doing? Good stuff. So, let's see what people are saying. Right there. Well, if John will get back to me, perhaps you can be resident man's best friend and live in a cage in the dungeon. I'll be honest. Basement will be turned into a BDSM dungeon for the show. So the rest of the chat folk, what do you think of Matt? Lynn, what do you think of Matt? So I'll tell you another story. So I told you a story about the lady getting stuck up there because of her character of energy. And it was just a tale of warning to one who wants to diss this space, right? And now I don't have a real, Matt is pulling your leg. Yes, that's what I thought. That's why I asked him if he was a clown, you know? And, I know that he's not serious. Yes, you'd already have a place. Exactly. Exactly. So. But, Matt comes on the show and he's a character there, right? So it's like he's playing that character, And the closest I can describe Matt without knowing him is the woman that came to my mystery school after I told her not to dogs. She did, and the first thing they do is shit right on my front door, and I tell her to clean it up, and she says, "I'm not gonna clean that up," and then the dogs take off, and then she ends up in the shit herself. A Legend of You, Janos lives on, whoever that is. It's all V, yep. All Von here, yep. And, for my life, it's always been all fun, It's never a problem. So. So, what else? So here we are getting close. Tomorrow's New Year's Eve, right? And I've been talking about focusing your conscious mind on what you want to do for 2022, right? And if you do, it will come true for you. I'm rhyming here. It's pretty good. And for 2022, the essence of that year for success is service to love's co-creation, and being passionate about that thing you really care about, right? To see, and if you want to see a change the world, be that change yourself. Be the example. And 2022, I mean, the powers that be are desperate, so they're going to do all kinds of crazy shit to try and really, upset people, and they won't be able to. Right now, one reason why I spent 10 years working in the corporate world, just having the most hedonist time you could ever have, was, and I enjoyed every bit of it. I don't feel, oh, I wish I didn't do that. No, because I died. I was 460 pounds, and I died, and it wrecked my body. And, I woke up just before they cut my legs off and cracked my chest and said, not doing that. Well, me back in the ICU. I'm going to take care of this. It's, my lawyer, he got all the people I needed to, get me through that trauma. And then, it took me 6 years to crawl back to this, where my doctors are amazed I'm alive, because I still have all the things wrong with me. It's just, I still have diabetes. I still have everything I had, right? But because I am consciously aware and I'm really careful about everything I do, what I eat, how I, what I do, I am at a state of homeostasis, balance. And as long as I can do that, I'll be fine. I'll last another 20 years. I have things to do with other folk. So, I've been doing this Dreamy Dreamland with Sensei Al Bob for the last 3-point-something years. And out of it, I have you, the cadre, which is about 440-something strong. And then there's the adepts, and that's about 150 of them. And of the adepts, there are maybe 40 that have got a hold of me. A lot more, 150 have gotten a hold of me on my, the dude awake 42 at Gmail, and start a conversation, personal conversation. And around 40-something have really committed themselves to their change, and they have, and they've changed unbelievably, right, in the last 2 years. A good portion of them were just, emotionally, not quite John, but almost there. And they've all changed. And they were a lot like Matt, right? And and they've changed. And their whole lives are in service to love's co-creation. So that's 40 something. And that handful of people will keep the world from going off the track, right? And if they were to inspire another 40 something people, and they would inspire another 40 something people, that's when you start to get some traction, right? So, but things are really, energetically, moving nicely, So I'm not upset. I don't have, I didn't go viral, blah, blah, blah. No, quality over quantity. And you, my cadre, are quite qualitative, And even Matt, Matt that's why I didn't just bop him off, not like the commie bots that I just kind of click out. But Matt, you're trying to be funny in a scatological way, So that has a very small humor category, very small. John's humor is way more funny than you. Because you're really a one-trick pony, right? So, but Matt, you have potential. You could, really do something with your life. You really could be interesting. Right now, not so much. But I mean, how I'm looking at you is I'm going to give you a shot. I'm not going to knock you off the channel. Unless you continue to be boring, and basically a liar. Because now I'm a storyteller, and there's a big difference between a liar and a storyteller. Now, as our friend said, you're just pulling my leg. Of course, I know you're just pulling my leg. Thank you, Tracy, for that. But you are trying to transmit this idea that I thought the meaning of the word, you thought it meant scholastic. What was that? I thought the meaning of the word, you thought it meant scholastic. Whatever. Matt, you keep being boring like that. It's like, come on, Matt. Tell me about your life, Tell me what you did as a kid, Tell me your relationship with your parents. You got any siblings? Got a girlfriend? What do you do for a job? Other than being boring, you remember? I thought the meaning, why doesn't it stay up longer, of the word, you thought it meant scholastic. No, the word is logos. Logos doesn't mean scholastic. Sorry. I made more money asleep. And well, that's nice, because money has never been the motivator of my life. I just have what I need, So I live like a millionaire. I don't, and I do it on nothing. So I don't spend any of my time, I have and always had and always will have whatever I need. So, yeah, you can make you can say all you want to say, but, again, boring, come on. I'm giving you a shot, buddy. I want you to be all you can be, Well, if you made all that money, tell us a story about it, What'd you do? How'd you make that money? Where'd you grow up? What's your cultural base? Where'd grandma come from? How'd you celebrate your holidays? Which holidays did you celebrate? You don't want to talk about that? You just want to be an NICP? Anyway, anyone else have something to say? Anyway, back to 2022. So doing your best is the main characteristic for 2022. And we have about 24 hours that you should be meditating, right? So why don't we meditate, right? And the two tools I'm giving you for 2022 is conscious awareness and conscious intent, right? So, and a lot of people say, "Oh, I can't meditate. Oh, I can't meditate." Well, the meditation, the only thing that distracts from meditation is the thoughts, the erroneous, childish thoughts that, go in your mind, right? So if you say these two, and they are tools, and they're also mantras. So you take a big breath in. And in that one breath, you go, conscious awareness I am, conscious awareness I am, conscious awareness I am. I did that all in one breath. And by doing that, I've had to expel everything in my lungs by expelling all of that excess angst, because it turns your body, the cortisol of angst, of anxiety, of worry, of fret, of all of those negative thoughts of your ego, cause chemical reactions. The major one that truly is damaging to your body is cortisol. So by causing your lungs to push all of that out, you then start to expel the gases of that, the CO2, but a bunch of others, more toxic ones, the metals and the darker energies. So we do it again. Big breath in. And by doing that, you are visioning the prana, the light of this Father Sky, Mother Earth, Holy Spirit, right? Father Sky is the prana, the energetics, the scalar energy that animates this bag of water, right? Otherwise, it's just a mud puppet, And it goes through you, and it goes down into you, which is connected to Mother Earth, and that's your chi. If you have ever studied martial arts, the major thing about martial arts is how you can control your chi, your grounding. Because I had this one teacher who could ground himself somewhat. No one could, pick him up and throw him away. And I was, in the late 90s, I was in Asheville. And there were all these, and Asheville was starting to become the hipster jungle that it was, because when I got there, nobody was there. And it was so great. There was nobody there. You could live anywhere for free or pennies, right? And there were tons of great artists, but nobody else, right? And so then it became the hipster jungle it is today. And so towards the late 90s, and so everything kind of changed, and the politics, instead of just being old Southern boys, became the people who had the money, the Biltmore, so the investment clan that was there since the 1860s, basically reasserted themselves, and then other New Yorkers were here. Asheville was a real New York town. I mean, when they rebuilt it in the 20s, they had Lexington, Broadway, Wall Street, a lot of New York City streets, and they tried to make it a mini New York City, and then they went bankrupt, paying off their depression debt until 1996. So it was that. So there was always a lot of interesting things going on. Again, this is a very energetic place. It had been for at least 80 years an amazing cultural center because of the Biltmore House and the Biltmores and the Astors, and they brought in these artists, and everybody could think of their AMJ. So that was going on, and I was there when things were just, there was a group of people, we kind of get together, we started partying, we started having galleries, we started doing events, then we did this thing called Bell Share, and and all this other stuff, and then some real rich people, a guy named oh, he was heir to the Philip Morris fortune. Julian Price was his name. And he just came in and bought every amazing building so no one could fuck with it. Then he started an environmental thing, a land trust, and just started buying up all the properties in the hills all around Asheville, so it couldn't just become. He saw that people were going to come here and just eat it alive. So he just started doing that. And then that was when there were a lot of paper mills around, and they were, their little smokestacks were causing acid rain, and it was like shaving off the top of Mount Mitchell. And Mount Mitchell is one of the tallest mountains on the East Coast. And when I first went there in the late 60s, early 70s, when I was at Duke, and I would go camping there, the forest was all the way to the top, and all of those mountain ranges were big, big, beautiful trees. And the paper mills basically seared them off. And you go there today, what was really interesting, Top Mount Mitchell has had a really nice restaurant-y kind of place that had a great view, right? And it had on the walls all around, like walking in, the walls that didn't have windows, had these great Ansel Adams pictures, Ansel Adams, yes, that guy, of that whole mountain range, right? And it showed Mount Mitchell covered in these gigantic trees. And so that place still stayed alive, and they stopped having, I used to camp up there, and then they stopped having camping because trees kind of held everything down. People were camping there, no trees. It was problematic, to say the least. So when you went, if you go there now, and if that building is still there, and they took all the pictures down. So you don't know that there used to be trees there. Anyway, so Julian, started his own media center in Asheville, and he made me enjoy. He said, we became buds, and he said, "You're going to be my, videographer and photographer." And I said, "Not a problem," because he saw my photos. He knew of me back in the day, and he said, that. And I said, "Great." So I had this unbelievable equipment and facility at and he basically was ready to have a TV station. He was going to be the next Ted Turner. And so he's doing a lot of stuff, and he had a really, really dealing kind of lawyer that was buying up all this real estate. And because he knew that one day you could buy everything for penny. You could buy up near, the big fancy hotel in Asheville is Grove Park Inn. And the guy who built it, amazing hotel. And he built an amazing golf course, and he built a community around the hotel of nice houses, nice houses, not worker houses, but nice houses, So, and they were like, he was thinking about a Jekyll Island, but in the mountains, and that was what he was trying to reproduce. And so anyway, and he was old school European hotel guy, right? So, you could buy any one of those houses that were like gigantic, big, maybe 4,000, 5,000 square foot, beautiful, columns, the whole thing. And you can buy any one of those houses for 30 grand, right? Now they are 30 million. It's like this house. If that guy bought this place for 500,000, he'd be getting a good deal because there's no other place like this. It's worth millions. And anyone with an idea and passion and the experience and the, conscious intent, they would just clean up, because this place is so energetic. If you are straight up conscious intent, loves co-creation, you can be a zillionaire here. Otherwise, you end up drinking and go, hama. Well, looks like John needed this place for the 6 or 7 years that he's been here. He needs, I'm going to go to LA. I'm ready to go with him, right? Ready to help him do that. But, I'm here for, I don't know, 2 months. Whatever, at a certain point, same thing day after day, not doing anything and doing the same thing. And kind of doing what you saw last night, what you saw this morning, what you saw just a few minutes ago. I'm, you know, I'm giving them 2 or 3 months, and then I have other things to do. Yep, so that's what I'm going to do. And so anyway, actual, right? This is kind of how I got here. So things are really whoop-de-doo, and there's all kinds of stuff going on actually that I'm involved in. The city, full of, some water, the black folk, the artists, you name it, we were doing it. And I was the guy who kind of, and as new people came in, and so it's pretty, at one point in 91, the police, I knew the police chief, I knew the police people. That's what I do. One of the first things I do when I go into a new town is go, hey, how are the police doing? If anything I can do, I'm here. Right? And then it kind of scratch their heads, and then they'll let me read your bond. And then you go, whoa. And then I do some more things, and I go, whoa. And then some amazing catastrophe is about to happen, and I kind of slide in and navigate it so it's not a catastrophe. And then people want to talk to me when they want to talk to me. So Nashville was that way, and the police department just totally old boy, Southern boy, and they were okay. They were nice people. I liked them. We got along. I was their buddy. Helped them out a number of times, and they gave me whatever. And that town was so dead that you could do anything. Like when we did the first, street parties that became Belshare. We didn't get a permit. I went and told the chief, hey, listen, this weekend we're going to have a little street party over there. And he said, no problem. He said, just put the garbage cans so nobody drives. And thanks for telling us. I said, okay. And that's how it was, right? But, around 94, I think it was, the French Broad goes through. That's a big river. A big, important river to the water table of half of the southern East Coast, and so it kind of comes right through. Actually, because before the railroad, people went up and down the river on boats, and so this river kind of goes right through. The town was built around it, and the east and the west side of Asheville was cut by French Broad. And along the French Broad was where all the industry stuff was, and they had factory buildings, and there were no factories then when I got there, so they were pretty cheap. And so a number of us rented these buildings to do our art, nice big factory to sculpt, to paint, to perform, to do whatever, right? And no one cared, paying the rent. And the guy who owned it, wow, no one rented this place in 20 years. So. And today, if you go along the French Broad down there, along Eagle Street, it is the groovy place. Battery is low. I guess I need to go get my charger. I'll be right back. Hold it right there. Talk amongst yourselves. I think I'm gonna take the camera to the battery charger. That's probably a better idea. It's more comfy in there, a little warmer in there. Do. So, there was this guy who was, if you looked at him, he kind of looked like a homeless guy, but very interesting because he was very tall, had real long hair, and he had always had amazing, strange jewelry on his body. And it was made from wire, copper, and he would sculpt it, twist it, bend it, do all kinds of stuff with it. And it was brilliant. And put on my hat to keep my head warm. And so his name was Otter. And so, I got to know him just, because there were no restaurants in town. And I used to every Friday have this big potluck dinner where everyone would come. And before that, I lived in a chicken coop, and it was a artist commune. There were like, 40 of these chicken. It used to be an industrial chicken farm, and then it probably went out of use in the '60s. And the people died, and the nephew or the son lived in Florida. He owned it, and then someone got a hold of him and said, "Can I rent these?" Sure. And so for a good 10, 15 years before I got there, it was an artist commune. And that's when I showed up in town in 91. Someone said, "Oh, you should go check this place out." I did. Their electrics were like, people were getting shocked every which way. No one knew how to fix anything. And so, how about there's that rundown coupe over there? Why don't I take that and I'll fix everything? Because it was wired, but like wired in 1948. So, I cleaned everything up, got everything running nice. It made everyone happier. So they were really good gardeners. All that chicken shit, that had been dumped in this one place for like, 20 years was unbelievable. So they had a serious organic garden of every kind of thing. And they had goats. So they had milk and they had cheese, and it was quite nice. And they had a big pond where they were, "Hey there, bud. On this New Year Eve, NZ, may the Holy Spirit be with us." Yes, right on. Anthony, good to see you. MJ, So I'm telling stories of Asheville and how I got to Virginia, got to Roanoke. Because with John, there's this guy here who was on the chat. His name was Matt. And he was wanting to buy John's school for $500,000, which, this place is worth $1 million. I mean, anyone, as I said, who had anything on the ball could, because see, the thing about this place, it is super, super high test, energetic, spiritual energy here. Unbelievable, right? I call it the Hill. And the thing about the Hill is that it'll do whatever, it's like a puppy dog. It just wants to make you happy. So if you're up here and drinking, well, it thinks that's what you want to do. So it triples down and you become alcoholic and you die of alcohol poisoning, right? But it thinks that's what you want. You're doing, smoke a little boo and then you smoke a bit too much and then, it wants drugs. So you become a serious heroin addict and overdose. Something that was the kind of history of this place. You're at the school now? Yep, I'm here at the school with John. And I've been here since the day after Christmas, last Sunday. And we're doing fine. And he's actually, if you go back and watch the last he's been part of every live chat I've done. And he's getting better and better just in the days that I've been here, right? And he's starting to be cognizant of he can't do the same thing over and over again, hoping that his wife and the kids are going to come and they'll come here and he doesn't have to go there. And so it's, it has a shot at, and I've given him, he goes, "Well, all I really want to do is go to California." I said, "Well, let's go to LA, in a couple of weeks, get everything set here, close it down and go to LA. And go to LA, get something going in LA, and then go visit Houston and take his boys back. Because I bet you by this time, their mom is toast. She has been homeschooling and taking care of those two boys 24/7, right? She deserves a medal. But, they're getting to be teenagers, and I bet you, because they are cut straight from John's, cloth. So, she's having to deal with that. So, I bet you, and the oldest wanted to come, but John wouldn't let him come because he wanted everyone to come. It was everything his way or no way, right? He's got this big house in Roanoke, and he wants them all to come here. And the house is really in great shape. John has done the most amazing job. When I had it, it was just my warehouse in my spiritual cove, right? Um, but I didn't, I spent maybe 3 months of the year here, and not all at once. Like some in the spring, some in the summer, some in the fall, and then I had other places to go. In between, I went to other places, and in the wintry time, I went south. I had two places down in Florida, southern Florida even. I had a place in the Keys, and I had a place near, uh, Boca Raton, Pompano Beach, that neck of the woods. But further down, where the rich people right over there, but this was a little neighborhood that was ignored. It was like a little peninsula. It was great. It was right on the frigging water. I had not only the beach, right out to the Atlantic. I had a thing I could put a boat if I had a boat. And it was great, right? My neighbor, he had a pool, and he was never there. I stayed half the time. He had a really nice house. I had a little kind of thing in the mud, but he had a really nice house. So, he wanted me to keep an eye on it. I did. I mean, what was really strange, he was there like in the spring and summertime. That's when he liked Florida. Winter, he didn't like being there with all those people there. He didn't like that, right? So, anyway, it worked out perfect. Perfect timing. That's the other thing, buddy. Everyone, the magic for 2022 is going to be perfect timing. Visualize this. You're right on the edge of this big lake of shit, right? But every so often, a little hole. I mean, it's not like a deep thing of shit. Well, there are big holes of shit, but most of the shit is just, a little skim of shit, right? And every so often, the shit moves a little bit, and you can walk there without stepping on shit, right? But that little space doesn't always stay there, right? So you have to have perfect timing and have faith, because perfect timing is the expression of love's co-creation. So you're on the edge, and you get step now, and you step, then another step opens and step, another step opens, you step, and another step you go, and you walk all the way across this lake of shit, and you don't get a lick of shit on you, right? But if you're there on the edge and you go, okay, oh look, it opens up. Oh, I can step there. It closed up. When's it gonna open? I don't know. Oh, it's opening up now. I'll have to wait. If you do that, you're gonna end up stepping in shit. But with perfect timing, not so much. You're gonna be perfect, right? So that is the modem of 2022, right? And the tools are conscious awareness and conscious intent. And I started maybe 30 minutes ago or 40 minutes ago doing a guided meditation. So this whole story is a guided meditation. But in a few minutes, we're going to, I'm waiting for more people to show up, that we're going to do this, the real deal of the guided meditation. But you can feel it, right? So the word, the experience, the action for 2022 for all of you is perfect timing, right? So anyway, I'm in Asheville, and I am there, and there's this guy named Otter, who looks like a homeless guy, but he's a brilliant guy, and he makes amazing art out of copper wire, right? He's basically covered. He's got some crummy clothes underneath, but he's totally covered in this unbelievably gorgeous copper jewelry, And when I look at it electrically, it's like a scalar device. I'm going, boy, this guy's off the hook. Anyway, so we start talking. I'm telling him what I think it is, and he goes, boy, everyone thinks I'm just a homeless guy. They don't really. I said, please, I understand. And so he tells me his whole story about I mean, he is so much older than he looks like he's 35. He is probably in his 90s because he was part of, the Manhattan Project. Like I said, put a protractor in Oak Ridge and put a 300-mile circle. I mean, Asheville had 5 or 6 really strange ass things because there was, see, the Manhattan Project wasn't just about the atomic bomb, it was about shamanic science because Adolf Hitler was totally into it. And, that's what got his guys having flying saucers and being on the moon in 32. So, you know, um, that's where this guy came from, Otter, right? There was another guy named Butch, and Butch had been, again, part of this thing, and he was, a bomb specialist. I mean, he's a guy who could handle the plutonium and the triggers and all that stuff. And he was in an accident where they had a flash. I mean, it did not a nuclear explosion, but almost. The 2 parts of the bomb that shouldn't touch for a moment, and they had a discharge of super duper energy, and the side of his face that was facing that was like, looked like burnt bacon. And the other side, he was a handsome guy, so he was like Two Face. This eye's hanging out, and this side he looks for. So he had this knack of always keeping his good side to you, right? And he had an artificial little, he had a patchy thing that kind of covered a good deal of it. But when he didn't wear that, and he showed you that side of the face, it scared the ever living crap out of you because it was, they call plutonium for a reason. It's from the planet Pluto. Where all of a satanic energy of, it's where all the knowledge is, and so, and that can burn you bad, and that's what happened to him. So these two guys are coming from that down the French Broad, underneath, the Patton Avenue Bridge. They lived, and right next to the big concrete things, right? And the power company, um, Duke Power, would throw all their crap there, right? All their transformers. It's just a toxic dump. And these guys cleaned it up. Not only that, these guys were real alchemists. They cleaned the toxicity. Those old time transformers had some really nasty stuff in them, and they got rid of it. And I mean, they'd dig it up and move it to someplace else, so the other place would be toxic. They just got rid of it, right? So that is our little. See, he's, buddy. I mean, when you came on at first, you had a sharp edge, but Matt here, he's got more than a sharp edge. He's got a mean side. And a lot of people, when you first were on the beginning, remember the beginning, a lot of people wanted me to bump you off, and I said no way. And you are, Matt has it in him to be what he could be, or is he just going to be a troll? Because I haven't bopped him out yet, and I'm, I'm not for a while until people say, and because what I did to you, buddy, I asked about you, wanted to know about you, and the thing about Matt there, I've asked that, and I've given him the opportunity to tell his story, but he all he does is say things like that, So, it's what it is. And so, anyway, back to the story. So these guys have this community underneath the bridge, not of trolls, but every person who was like treated poorly by society in that neck of the woods, who weren't trolls, went there, and they had like the Garden of Eden. It was They had, like I said, this was super toxic place, and they cleaned it all up, and they had these gigantic chunks of concrete that weighed 10, 20 tons, and they moved them. whatever that is. So these guys were alchemists, and they understood, the forces of alchemy, and not just chemical alchemy or physics alchemy, which is like making plutonium, but moving 60-ton blocks. So this place was amazing, and it was amazing in that when you drove up to it, it looked like the piece of crap it always was. And then you kind of drove around this one concrete thing, and it was like another frigging world, a garden of paradise. And so, you know, he took me there. I was like, wow, this is great, man. So we were having fun. I started to have my potluck dinners there, and everyone loved it. And somebody from the newspaper came along with somebody else to potluck dinner, and they were like, oh my God. And so he put something in the newspaper about it. And then people, kind of said, what? There's people there? Oh, that can't be. And then people saw it. And so it was really interesting because half the population that could do something about it said, this is a garden of paradise. And the other side of the people said, oh, we have to get rid of it. And so they forced the gendarmes, the police, and I said, guys, don't go in there. It's if you do that, things are going to pop off the way that you just don't understand. What, these people are going to be violent? No, they're not going to be violent. They'll skulk away and build another paradise someplace else. But if you do that, what will happen to Asheville? And I tried to talk to him about, spirituality and all of that, and didn't quite, register. So they did that, and the other guys, they went away, and they went deeper into someplace else and built their garden of paradise there. But that was the beginning of when stuff really kind of popped up. So within a few years, where that spot that was the Garden of Paradise of Love's co-creation, that was holding the center, right? So the darkness wouldn't descend, right? Well, when they pushed those guys away, and that's what I was trying to tell, and I knew, the mayor, I knew the real estate guys, the rich guys, I knew the police, I knew everybody. I'm trying to explain this. I said, this, if you let these people do this, this will be the beginning of a renaissance here. And so they didn't, but people left. And they weren't nice to him. They had the same kind of, NICP that this Matt cat seems to have. And, so then what happens? So things kind of, the art scene gets stronger, and we're still having fun. And because, like I said, it was easy because there was nobody else there but us. And the powers that be basically let us do whatever the heck we wanted because they kind of realized the state was, how I got there was, Biltmore House had, the family married into other people who married into other people who married into other people to the point where they married into people like Matt, And so they had run that building down to nothing and never paid their taxes and were just what is, in anthropologic terms, was a drain on society, right? They were what is known in the parlay of world politics as Stalinist obstructionists, And within, that dynamic, it's people who always just want to spoil what's good. They're not really evil. They're just, buddy, you were privy to people and things of that nature. You could explain it too, and that's what I love about chat. You guys can chime in from any level of experience. MJ, I'm sure you have some insights on that, So around 94, what happened was it was obvious that what happened was the state and the federal government went to those people who were the drainbows and said, listen, this is your property, but you run it through the ground. You haven't paid. You owe us millions of dollars in taxes, and uh, we have an offer to you. We will forgive all your back taxes, right? You allow us to take over all the property, Biltmore House, all the other buildings, and they had like 1,000 acres, and let us renovate everything to what it was, and yep, the Cherokee, yep. And the Cherokee were everywhere. And the Cherokee were amazing. They were the only, I mean, at least this is what Europeans say. I knew other tribal people that had written language that white people said, that's not written language, that's just decoration. It's like, no, that's written language. You may not be able to read it, but it's a historical representation of what these people have been doing for the last thousands of years. Anyway, um, the Cherokee were amazing because they were the closest to European consciousness of any of the Indian tribes. I mean, the Iroquois Nation, they were political. They understood the Europeans once they showed up, and they made contracts with them and stuff. But the Cherokee were making money. I mean, they were better business people. Virginia is it? Sorry, I want to go to Virginia. For what was that? Um, I think the Virginia area, U.S. Amazing. Wanted to go to Virginia. Okay, yes. And our Matt friend here. What's up, Jane? How's your dead son? I mean, come on. Gang, should I bop this guy out of here? It's like he's a dark force. I think, let's see, can we do that? Let's see, report remove, I think. Yes. There we go. I gave the guy more than many chances. So anyway, he just represents, the lower vibration of the, mud puppet, right? So, and I kept calling NICP. So anyone know of the band Insane Clown Party? You should know those guys pretty well. And I had a friend, she was like just whack about those guys. And there was another band that came from the Yugoslavia area. Anthony, were the Cherokee on were they ever on John property? This was one of their ceremonial sacred spots. That's why I'm telling you, this place is, I call it the hill. It's charmed like you can't believe. And it just wants to do what it thinks you want. It doesn't have any idea what a human being is, but it understands the spiritual energy. So when people would come up here and, drink or party, or it would trickle down. So these people would drink themselves to, alcohol poisoning, So, and that's one of the problems. But if you come here with a conscious intent, it's unbelievable. Meaning, when I bought this from Inga, who needed the money I had, and I had to buy, I had bought and sold a bunch of real estate over a period, and it got to a point where the tax man wanted me to, because some of the things, So anyway, I had to buy another piece of property, and I had to spend about 125,000. And that's exactly what she needed, but this place was only worth 40. And you know, I gave her the 125 because I had it. I had to kind of spend that so I wouldn't have to pay taxes, and that's how it worked. And so that was enough money for her to the 8 years left in her life. I don't know when she was going to die, but she lasted another 8 after I bought this place. And it made her life very comfortable. It made her life so she never had to worry about money again. And did her daughter or son really help her out? Yeah, kind of, but not really. Not to the point where she always kind of was anxious about things. I mean, her son-in-law loved her dearly and was like amazing. Parents having fun and knowing that she must have an empty hole needing to. Yep, exactly. That's why I bopped him out, gang. I just kind of I gave him a chance. I let him be here. I let him here last night and the night before, and did I gift it to John? Yes, I told him about what this land was and such. But John, I mean, he can't. I try to describe to people that their mind is like a tape recorder, right? Now mine and everyone's tape recorder is a little different. Now, what makes me a good negotiator, within disagreements and legal things, political things. So I remember what everyone said, you know, and so when they go da 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 da, and then when they go d d d d, and I said no, that's not what you said, you know. Anyway, um, John, he says that's why if he's going to talk to me, I'm putting him on live chat, you know. So the stuff he said last night, he kind of looked at it and said, "You have to, get rid of that." I said, "John, I told you right off the bat. If you want me to be on your channel, you want to put me and make money off of me. A, you got to give me a cut, but B, and you got to be honest about it. And B, I'm gonna, do a live chat just when you're doing your thing. So I am like historically having the representation because 90% of the stuff he puts on his channel he takes out like a day or two later because he says something or he's embarrassed or he thinks he looks bad or whatever. Me, I don't care. How I look is how I look. I'm here to serve love's co-creation, right? So anyway, back to Asheville. And see, every place I've been has been this microcosm of what's going on in the world at that time. So, Asheville, by 94, 96 is when they're going to finish paying off their debt, and that's when banks will start lending people money to do things in that town. So people with like this guy who had a lot of cash, he bought up a lot of stuff and tried to save it, right? And other people, we're starting to do that a little bit. But anyway, the state, the federal government took over Biltmore House, rebuilt it back to its glory, and used it as the anchor for tourism in Asheville. And they knew that it was going to take off. And it would be the art, because that's what we're doing. And that's kind of why the powers that be let us do whatever the heck we wanted for those first 8 years, right? Because it was building that infrastructure of art and culture. And so anyway, I was a tap dance boy of all of that. And so around 94, the 91, what happens? They had this biggest snowstorm they had ever, right? And the way Asheville was wired in the 20s and 30s and 40s, most cities are wired like a tennis racket. So if one cable here goes out, another one going, so it can be fed from many different directions. But your basic old town or old village or old whatever was just as one wire kind of goes through. If it breaks, everyone loses their juice, right? And so and then Manhattan Project came in, and Roanoke had a few interesting facilities in the city and around the city. And so they brought in some serious power, 980 lines, big power, right? Those big steel towers with the big cables, and it goes to the Tonka transformers. They had that. But it still just ran straight through it. I mean, the distribution to everything else was still one wire. And even though they expanded everything, it was still one wire. So one thing off, bingo, you lost juice, right? And where the big power comes in and they need these gigantic transformers the size of diesel locomotives, that weigh like, 80 tons, most places with the big power lines on, and then they have the big transformer that takes it down to so smaller transformers can take it and then it can be distributed. And that's why you see those steel kind of, rector set kind of things with stuff all, that's a distribution point, right? From super high voltage to high voltage to medium voltage to low voltage to, not low voltage, but to voltage that goes out to residential and industrial use. So That's not how they did it. They just had these big lines come through. They had one big transformer, and the major power went off into these areas where they were doing, you know, interesting stuff. You know, the Manhattan Project. And so, why they have two transformers? Because they weigh a zillion tons, and if in a middle emergency, you just can't send out for these things, right? And so, basically, you know, the snowstorm came, they had a short, it blew up the major big transformer, and then the snow came more and more and more and more to the point where, you know, they were never going to get one of those big transformers because Interstate 40, to go to Asheville, Interstate 40 is like that. And it was like closed for weeks, right? So Asheville lost power for almost 2 months. But one amazing thing was there was, you know, this big fancy hotel actually had, because they had enough money and enough pull, had something off, you know, off that big transformer. They had a little distribution thing just for them. So that whole neck of the woods had juice, and I lived in that neck of the woods. So I had electricity. They had gas. Yeah, I had heat, and it was amazing, right? So everyone's like freezing to death in town, can't get anywhere because the roads are like, because they didn't get the snow plows out because they never had snow, and they had nothing, you know, and so they didn't, you know. I was with this guy who was from FEMA, and he came up there because he was and not only that, Asheville had one of the central, you know, federal buildings. You know, they have them all over the place, and for zones, and Asheville was one of the central zone places, and they had one of the three major NOAA facilities there, right? And so this guy was out of a FEMA, but a NOAA guy, and NOAA's there's going to be this killer, you know, snowstorm. And so they called FEMA saying, hey, you better get your boys on because this is going to be a catastrophe in Asheville. And so the FEMA guy went up there 2 days before, and 2 days before the snowstorm, it's like 60 degrees, and you know, it's a sunny day, and it's, you know, it's wintertime. And anyway, a friend of mine who worked at NOAA says, hey, this guy's coming up. He's really interesting, and he really has no place to stay. Can he stay in your apartment with you? Because I had this really great apartment, 3 bedrooms, gigantic living room, kitchen, dining room, 2 covered parking spots, and it was 120 heat, gas, and electricity, all for $175 a month. It was like, what? So I said, you know, I went from the chicken coop to that place, right? And it was full of old ladies, and they were all, you know, section, you know, eight, you know, they were on, you know, um, federally sponsored housing. And you know, the guy was in Florida. He didn't care. He was getting his $1,100, you know, a month from everybody, and straight into his bank account. He didn't care. You know, he didn't know what it was worth. He never was there. He came from like an uncle or something. He was down in Florida, and so he was just fine with that. So you know, it was like I had this amazing place. So my friend said, "Can your friend stay there? And you've got those 2 parking spots. You know, he's got this Humvee that can go through anything. You know." And I said, "Sure, no problem." So you know, he shows up a couple of days. You know, he moves in. You know, moves in. He visits. He's not moving in. And you know, and he's all excited. He says, and I know a lot of people. I know the transportation people. I know the mayor. I know the this. I know the that. So I take him around to all these people because I can just waltz in and say, "Hey, Mr. Mayor, you got to talk to this guy." And he's trying to tell the mayor and the chief of police and everybody, you know, about what's coming. And they just, you know, what are you talking about? It never snows here. And anyway, it starts snowing and snowing and snowing, and they get 3 feet of snow. And then it becomes bitter cold, and they don't do anything. Not only does it get, first it gets, you know, snow, 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 3 feet of snow. Then they get a really super sunny day where the top 2 inches melts into water and just goes down into that snow. Then that night it turns to like 90 degrees below zero and stays that way for 3 weeks. And so that 3 feet of snow was no longer snow, it was ice. And they basically had to wait till spring for it to melt. So no police car could get out, no fire truck could get out, no ambulance could get, nobody could get out, period. No trucks brought food to the soup. I mean, And my little, I had gas, electricity, warm, nice, happy. I'm a guy who, when I go to the supermarket, oh look, the canned soup is, instead of 80 cents, it's 20 cents. I'm the smart buyer. When I see deals, I buy it. So I had like tons of cans of food and other stuff, and so anyway, there we were. So he had the only vehicle that could get around. This thing was like, he had not chains on his, he had these, like treads that he could put around his tires. So he could like go through anything. It was like a bulldozer. And so, anyway, so what happens? And I had told the chief of police, months before this, because I was working with the social services guys, because they turned the black community. The Biltmores brought black people up to be their servants, because the southern folk up in the mountains, they just weren't, they couldn't even read. So they brought up educated black people, and also Italians and French artisans, which there was a big Italian and Greek, Italian, and French artisans to build the Biltmore House. And there was a big, you know, little communities. There was Biltmore Village, and a lot of places that had all these Italians and Greeks, and so it's very cultured. And then all the intelligentsia of America spent the summer there, and it was like the Paris. They called it the Paris of the South. And then depression came. They had borrowed in the 20s a ton of money to turn it into the Paris of the South, and then they couldn't pay anybody back, and they didn't finish paying their debt until 1996. So it's a city stuck in amber. There's nobody there except certain interesting people like me, right? And I got there because I was brought there from Cornell to help do an ethnography on the Biltmore House so they could figure out how to make everything work like it did back in the 1890s, right? So anyway, I'm having a great time, and then I go from there to the city hall, which had a ton of history in the basement, but no one had looked at it for 50 years. Again, we made another ethnography and built a database of all that. Then those who want to know about the Cherokee are out there near Asheville, over near Waynesville, in Cherokee, North Carolina. And they, again, had a written history of themselves, but they couldn't get, these guys were the most together Indian nation at the time when they were at the peak. I mean, you know why the Greek columns are in the South? Is because the freaking Cherokee went to Europe, saw them, went back and built, and just said, okay, we're getting rid of the Hogan, and they built these big estates, and and they had gigantic farms, and I mean, they were better business. Why Andrew Jackson went after them? Because they were his ally. He got to be president because the Cherokee put him there. Then he killed them all. That's being an American. So I went over to Cherokee, and this woman who was the real ethnographer, she and I, got all of their documents together. I mean, what she was good at, I was good at digging up stuff and seeing what it was. She was good at taking that and putting it into a computer database that could then be used to register the tribe. That's how they got, gambling over there because of us. We put all of their shit together and then brought it to the federal government. They said, okay, you did it, you checked all the boxes, and the Cherokee weren't doing a very good job at checking the boxes, and we did it for them, and we didn't really charge them a nickel, we just, because we got paid really good for doing the Biltmore House, we got paid really good for doing the city, and then these guys, we just did it because we thought it was the right thing to do, and so we did. And it didn't take us long, it took us once, half of the summer. Because they had it all there. We really didn't have to dig. And we just had to put it into a format, right? And that's what she was good at. So we did that. And that really, those three things made her career. She went on from there to like really shine. Me, I stayed there because I said, I thought, I'm going to stay there. So, things are getting, spinning up, and we're doing stuff, and Asheville's becoming it, and people realizing, oh, it's only, and soon everyone's going to want to be here. So I could have been a zillionaire there, but I had no cash. I didn't buy anything. I didn't want to. the other thing, because I was kept, I had an apartment like that. And I went from there to another great apartment, from there to another great apartment, and I wasn't spending anything, having a great time. And I knew that once, and it had some serious. I was on the water board, so when they turned Asheville into the Paris, the whoop-de-doo city, um, before then everyone was just shitting on the street, you know. So they put sewers in, and they were made out of the water lines were made out of lead, and the sewer lines were made out of terracotta. And when the depression came and the city couldn't pay the contractors who did all that work, the other guys had to eat it, right? But the guy who did the plumbing, who did the sewer and water lines, he burnt the documentation to where everything was. So from 1930 on, the city of Asheville had no idea where its water lines were and its sewer lines were. And a number of them were like right through each other, right next to each other, right, crossing each other. And it's not the most, stable place. They have little earthquakes. So all that little jostling and trucks, and then they put Interstate 40 through and Interstate 26. So every day in the city and it's in a big bowl, worse than LA, right? And so Asheville has the worst air pollution in the nation. They, 20,000 people die of, that every year. And not all the people who, live there, but, now it's a big tourist site and the water is even worse, right? Um, I thought I got rid of that. And Master Alexander can't tell when Ohm's law is due. I thought I got rid of this guy, Anyway, I guess we'll have to live with him until I do the next show on. Oh, there we go. So there, I removed him, right? So he shouldn't be there. Or should just take out that one message and not all of Matt. Yeah, I guess it just takes out that one message. Anyway, I'll have to learn how to do that. Matt, Ohm's law is a simple mathematical equation that tells you what the voltage is over the current use, and over ohms is measuring how much current you use. What, like your electric heaters measured in ohms, right? So that's Ohm's laws. It's a simple. You either divide it or multiply, right, to find amperage, voltage, or ohms. You have to go to someone's channel later and block him. Okay. What do you mean by that, John? See, I know nothing about this internet stuff, right? I just tell stories, right? And I try to, Matt, you have a great ability to be something good. Why do you want to be a schmuck? See, John, everyone loves you. So, John, Matt said that you're going to throw me out. And I'm here because I know you're not, because we are moving forward. And unlike Matt, who has no friends, you have one really good friend, John, and you know it. It's me, right? I can show you how to block someone. It says a bunch of mean stuff. Okay, good. You can show me. Good. So he just made me mod blocking everyone. So that's on Matt, So he can do that. Hey, good on you, Matt. Very good.
You know, just unbelievable. Uh, hey, John, come down here. You know, like I said, I don't know what I'm doing. So if I just made him moderator, you know. So good on you, Matt. You having fun? You know? I feel sorry for you, buddy. You know, you don't have a life. You know, here's a place, a community you could be part of, right? And you're not because you're making yourself not. You know, come on, Matt, unblock everybody. You know. Anyway, so and this show I'm not going to take down. I'm going to leave up because it's a perfect you know example of NICP. You know, Neo Insane Clown Party. You know, I'll destroy everything because I want to. You know, I'm miserable. I'm going to destroy everything. I'm a piece of crap. You know. You are really. You are. I feel sorry for you, kiddo. You know. You are a very good example of you know the sorry shape that certain people are in. You know. So I've been on for 2 hours and something seconds, so I'm gonna go since Matt's going to rule. Okay. Do you want to start streaming? I don't know.